And you can have it all with your membership in the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce.
This is Strictly Business, presented by the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce. Sponsored in part by the law offices of Young Wooldridge, San Joaquin Community Hospital.
And welcome back to Strictly Business. I'm Nathan Ollie with the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce. And we're still joined in studio by Sue Watson, and we're still talking about time management. It's been very interesting thus far. So let's talk a little bit about asking for help. While we were during the break, we were talking about some of those things that are kind of time drains, and how do you, we've talked a little bit about delegation, but how do you get help when you're really stuck on something like this?
Good thing to ask is when you're stuck, and also I think when you're overwhelmed. When you're overwhelmed with something, we tend to not want to ask for help because we live in a society and a culture that so values independence. And I really don't think that independence is what we should be looking at. We should actually be reaching out and allowing other people to contribute to our lives, as well as being a contribution to their lives. So when we ask for help, people actually quite like being able to help us if they're able to. Okay. So I think you've just got to get over it. But another time drainer is when you're stuck in, if you're a little bit over-analytical, you start thinking about things over and again, and you can't get past it. Right. And you can ask for help from that as well. Hey, Nate, what do you think about this? I'm struggling with this. What do you think I could do next? Who could help me with this problem that I have? And that quickly shifts us through, and that alleviates another time waster right there. And then discipline. Of course, if you really want to get stuff done, sometimes we've just got to be disciplined. Okay,
so that means if I've got to get this report done, I've got to lock myself in my office and nobody can interrupt me, that kind of thing? Okay.
Close off the phone, cut off your emails, ignore people banging on your door, just get your head down and get it done. Another thing, you were talking about the life balance. Mm-hmm. I have this formula, I call it Sue's Be Simple formula for a better life, that looks at life balance, from a body perspective, from a mind perspective. But I think that also takes discipline. So for example, I decided at the beginning of the year I was going to do more working out. Okay. So I signed up for a workout challenge that takes me to the gym 3 times a week. Sure. I don't always want to go. I haven't gotten to that stage yet where I want to be at the gym, but I'm going to go. So I'm disciplined in it, and which raises another point, which is integrity, doing what you say you're going to do. Okay. So if you say you're going to get that report done by 11, get it done by 11.
Get it done, right. Yeah. And it's funny, you mentioned one that I think is a problem for a lot of people is email. I mean, especially when you have email that goes to your phone or your computer, your laptop, your tablet. It's pervasive.
It is pervasive.
And how do you, is there a rule of thumb that people can use in business, like, check it at the start of the day and the end of the day and that's it? Or what's a good rule of thumb?
Well, I think that the other nice thing about time management is we have to determine what works for us. Right. What works for me is on my phone, I'll just check through quickly and see if there's anything that's very pressing. I don't do that as emails come in, but I might do that 3 or 4 times a day. Okay. And then that pushes me to go and respond to the important ones. But I'm not on my emails every minute of every day, because again, soon all your time's gone and you haven't accomplished anything in your day with the emails.
So what about taking care of yourself? You have to make time for that as well. How can that help your overall time management strategy?
Structure it in.
Okay.
So for example, I meditate when I wake up in the morning. I meditate for about only 20 minutes, and that makes a big difference to my frame of mind. And by the way, self-care is very important for being efficient. If you're not looking after yourself, you can't look after what needs to be done, and you can't look after other people very well either. So yeah, self-care is very important. So I meditate first thing in the morning. I go to the gym at 6:30 in the morning, 3 times a week. I try and structure time for doing the things that I need to do.
Okay. And then other things to look at, maybe your environment. Okay, if you're the kind of person that has a messy office, for
example. That's me, by the way.
Oh,
yeah,
okay. Well, no, sorry, no offense. You know, my wife is notorious for a messy office as well.
Yeah.
But can keeping your environment in a certain amount of order, is that another one that maybe is beneficial for
Yes.
for
Yeah, definitely.
businesses?
Yeah, definitely. So for me, again, what works for me is once a week making sure that my office is clean, my desk is clean. And then I do notice that clutter builds up, mail builds up. I try and stay away from paper, but we really can't, can we?
Right.
So it builds up, and then once a week I'm filing and going through and throwing away.
So how do you get started? Just once a week, you're going to schedule that time, 30 minutes, and I'm gonna clean my desk no matter what it is.
Yeah,
or?
for me, it just kind of happens by attrition, because all of these things, as I've said to you, are self-management.
Right.
It's about self-management. So it's all a practice, Nate. That's
Okay.
all it is. It's really a practice. And we have to practice all kinds of things. We even have to practice taking time off.
Okay. I don't have that problem. I'm happy to take time off. So how do we? Why do you say that we? Why do you say that? What are we finding that people just not scheduling time to take off? Or
yeah. Well, email takes, as you said, a lot of time, and it keeps pulling you back, doesn't it? When your email's there, it can be a work-related email, and it could be 7:30 at night, but you're still just tending to have a look at it. So I think that scheduling time off, even through your day, can help you be more efficient.
So like a small break during mini,
Yeah.
lunch periods or something break during the day.
Tal Ben-Shahar is an expert on happiness. He started a happiness class at Harvard.
Okay.
And he said that he got more done when he took a 15-minute break every 90 minutes. So he works for 90 minutes and he takes 15 minutes off, just relaxes himself up a little bit, goes for a little walk maybe and comes back, and he's able to focus better and get more done in those 90-minute pieces than if he just works, 6 in the morning till 6 at night.
Okay.
So he said that he can get 12 hours work done in about 7.5 or 8 hours if he takes that time off through the day as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and then he'll find, and maybe this is something that I know I've struggled with as well, is you don't feel like you're always in a hurry. Is that, you build in those breaks, it kind of gives you some breathing room, some cushion, and you just don't feel quite so rushed?
Yeah. Again, I think that the hurrying and rushing is a cultural problem. I noticed actually, because as you probably can detect, I was not born in America.
Right.
In America, and I think probably more West Coast and East Coast than in the middle of the country, people think that rushing and being in a hurry and having a full schedule is a good thing. It's almost a worth.
Like a badge of honor
Yes,
to have every minute of that time allocated, right?
If I asked you, let's do lunch, and you said, sure, let's go now, I might think, oh, Nate, you're not very busy, are you? What's wrong that you can...
I've got an 11 and 11:30 and 11:45,
Yeah, exactly.
so yeah. Right.
And then people will come back to you and say, well, I can do lunch on February 26th or something like that, a month from today, which is ridiculous, really.
Right.
So I think being busy is something that we should try and ward against, because if we're too busy, life just goes by as well. If you're too busy, you don't have time for good self-care, and you don't have time for planning, and you don't have time for thinking. So you've got to get rid of... Busy's not a good thing.
Okay. So let's talk a bit about finishing what you start.
Oh, yeah.
I know that's one of your key things, is to just finish what you start. What are we talking about here?
Anything. Any project. If you've got some goals, try and make some milestones in the middle of your goals to make it meaningful and to make it doable. So, for example, when I was writing the first book, I'd started writing a book many times, but I never got complete on the book. And a friend of mine said to me, well, I hope you finish this time, Sue.
Oh.
Yeah, but it was such a good thing, because I kind of gritted my teeth a little bit and I said, okay, watch this space, I'm going to. But so I was
I'll show you, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I was very determined to finish, but I couldn't see it as one long project, because then we think we don't have time to start. So I think sometimes if we can break it down into meaningful pieces, they say, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of like that. So, but in finishing, any project, we build our self-esteem and we build our courage to take on the next slightly bigger project.
Oh,
Does that make sense?
So, hey, I got chapter 1 done. I did it. I'm working on it. Let's go to chapter 2.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then finally, when you go the end, seeing my book published in print form, now I know that I can take on. Now I see myself as a finisher, and a lot of time management, of course, is about mindset and practicing. So the more you're able to say the end to your project, the more able you are to get on with the next thing, yeah.
And then you have to have that realization that not everything's going to be perfect, right?
Yeah, I have a good friend, Kevin Hall, who's a motivator and also an author, that says perfect or done.
Okay.
Yeah, because if you're looking for something to be perfect, you're probably not going to delegate it, and you're not going to finish it, and you're not going to ask for help on it, because we tend to think, especially the A-type people, that we know how to get it all done, that we can do it better ourselves. So when you're really wanting to get a lot done, you've got to be able to reach out to other people and allow people to do it their way and not necessarily your way as well.
Okay.
So
Well,
yeah, perfection is probably not the best.
not
things
attainable for everything. And of course,
That's
you know,
right.
once you get that book publisher, I know in my experience, I was a newspaper editor, and you hear it all the time, or you see it as soon as you open that paper. There's that one glaring error that you know,
yeah.
and right, it's
Oh,
getting it perfect versus getting it done.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. And another thing is, if you're doing a particularly big project, and you might set a timeline on it, don't be too disappointed if you don't meet your timeline, if you don't meet your deadline. Just make sure you're making progress and be satisfied that you're making progress. Generally, things take longer than we think that they're going to take us, and there's a reason for that. Do we have time for that reason?
Real quick, you got 1 minute.
Okay, 1 minute. So we tend to look forward and say it'll take that long, and what we should really do is look back and determine how long something took in the past to get done.
Great. And I know real quick, you've got, we've talked a lot about great time management strategies today. I know you've got an upcoming workshop. Is that right?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
I have a workshop on the 10th of February. It's a Tuesday from 9 till 4. And if you're interested, if anybody's interested in that, you can get hold of me on 661-301-7162 to register.
Okay. Sue Watson of Business Initiatives, thank you so much for taking the time. We had covered a lot of ground, and it was very beneficial.
Yeah,
So
thanks
thank
for
you
having me. Thank
you
you.
very much. Okay, we'll be right back after this with more Strictly Business and the closing bell.
If your doctor